everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Anthea Style. Thank you for joining me again. Today I'm going to be showing you how I decorate my front porch for fall. So follow along with me as I first show you the display of pumpkins that I have over here on my garden bench at the front of the house. So these are the pumpkins that I purchased today at our local Sobeys store. I didn't go to a farm. We have lots of local farms in the area, but was a little bit concerned about the weather today and rain possibly happening when we're trying to get this filmed to show you. So I have a selection of pumpkins. There are 11 pumpkins here. Again, I like to do things with odd numbers. And I am traditional when it comes to my decorating style, but I also have a little bit of, I guess, an eccentric flair. And what's happening here is instead of going with your traditional orange pumpkins, I chose to go with pumpkins that matched my fall flowers that I bought this year. And you'll see later on in the video, I didn't go with the usual orange and yellow and rusty color mums. So for the fall pumpkins this year that I chose, they are different colors. I thought they were really pretty and will match in with my flowers. This one over here, and I'm just gonna pull the labels off so you can see, this green color here actually is called a blue doll pumpkin. And there are varying shades of green that I got from like a medium tone, and I got small, medium, and large, to this one here, which is a little bit of a lighter green, which actually kind of looks like a mint green. So that's your blue doll. Then I purchased these white ones, and they are called Flat White Boar. And these are from Foodland, Ontario, product of Canada. So we're supporting our country with its produce. So that's a Flat White Boar pumpkin. And lastly, these ones are really, really sweet. They're called Porcelain Doll. And it's kind of got a pinkish orange blush color. And you'll see how they match up with my flowers. And this last one, if you can see this one, it's absolutely beautiful. It has lots of the porcelain doll veining through here, as well as the flat white, and again the blue doll coming through on that one. So that one's going to tie in the rest of these pumpkins here. This is our front step to our house. It's just a small little area here, but it'll have lots of impact once I put in all of the pumpkins and the fall mums that I've purchased and potted. The first thing I do is I removed all of our summer flowers, kind of hard to get rid of because they still all were in beautiful bloom, but it is fall, so we're trying to give a fall look. And then we had the steps swept off by my husband in preparation for me putting all of the pots and flowers and pumpkins here to display. So right here I have a hanging basket where I took out all of the petunias that were here for summertime, and I transplanted from another pot in the backyard this vine, a trailing vine, Swedish ivy. And if you remember from the floral arrangement that I did outside, I mentioned about the lovely coloring on the outside of that. So that's kind of like a nice fall color, a purplish wine color. And if you look up the wall here on the house, the Boston ivy in the summertime is a beautiful deep green, and then in the fall it just displays a various amount of colors. And this coloring is why I also selected the colors of the pumpkins that I bought at Sobeys. These mums I purchased from our local nursery. We have several to choose from in the Durham region, but where I selected these from, the nursery is called Kingsway Greenhouses, and the mums are Chelsea Yellow. This is the Chelsea Yellow, and I bought 2 of those. Chelsea Coral, and there's 1, 2, 3. And then Chelsea White. And the Chelsea White, I bought 1, 2, 3, and then I had a 4th one that I split, and I'll show that to you shortly. At the end of the season with summer, I removed our summer flowers from the pots and then repurposed the pots to use for my mums. And I always just keep it simple. Some people get a little bit nervous about doing pots, but it's really not hard to do if you keep it simple. So again, I removed the flowers from summertime, washed out the pots, and then put new soil in, and then transplanted the mums that I purchased from out of their pot into some of my metal pots. White, and you can see I just used, it's an old can, but you know, it does the job, a metal can, and I planted the white one in there. And then this white one here, the Chelsea White, I had an old yellow stone pot that's very weathered. It does have some cracks, but I still love it. And I reused that one and put the Chelsea White. And why I liked using this yellow one is because if you can see here, this Chelsea white mum has yellow in the very center of those flowers, and it just complements the color of the pot being that soft butter yellow. And this is a black cast iron pot that I removed a large arrangement out of, and I transplanted this Chelsea coral mum inside of this, and against the black it just makes that coloring pop. And if you see closely here, this has the coral on the outside and the yellow in the middle. And then this yellow mum, Chelsea yellow, you're going to see that I've left it in the store-bought pot, because once I've left it in the store-bought pot, because once I put it on the step, you're really not going to see from a distance that it's a plastic pot, and that's okay. So for those of you that maybe don't have a large array of garden pots to select from, and you're saving your money and you don't want to spend a lot, that pot is fine to use. It's kind of like a bluish gray. On the window ledge to my garage, I always have a plant here for summer. This gets a lot of shade in the summertime. So I was a little bit leery of putting any mums here, but it seems to be doing fine with the filtered light, because normally I have begonias in here. The ivy that grew through the summer grew quite long, and I really didn't want to get rid of that, so I just incorporated that again in my display here. The mum that I bought, the fourth mum, I split it up so I could spread the love around in some of my pots. So I put the Chelsea white mum here. I had some very dark purple grass growing in the back, and I put that here just for contrast with the green and the white. And one of my solar powered lanterns from the garden I pulled out and put in here just for that fall look. And this is all displayed in a rattan wicker basket. It's plastic. This basket was purchased, I believe, from Canadian Tire years ago, and it's held up very well. Gets a lot of water here, and it hasn't disintegrated at all. It's really holding up well. Here I have another one of my pots that had begonias and grasses growing out of it in the summertime on the landing, and I've removed those, and I've put in some new soil. I've only filled it about a quarter full, because I'm simply going to take one of the pots from the garden center that has its own self-contained plastic pot and place it right in here. So I'm just going to place this over here, is where I'm thinking I'd like to have it for this year again, because it works well. It's just a small landing, and with the door opening, we don't want to have too much, we don't want the planter to be in the way of the door. So I'm just fluffing it just gently, and we will water everything afterwards. Next, I'm placing the yellow mum right in front of that wicker basket with a little bit of the ivy just in front. And when we're all done, we might just have to readjust, but this is where I'm going to choose for right now to put the yellow Chelsea mum. Next, I'm placing the ceramic yellow pot. And I'm just turning it so you don't see too much of the crack, and again, just keeping it real. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just turning it to get the right angle so that the mums are displayed nicely. This pot I use year-round. It has a cedar in the center of the pot, which we leave in all winter, and it does stay green through the winter. And in the Christmas time, I decorate it with white lights, but for fall, I've left it in, and I've inserted just a section of the white Chelsea mum, and that was a whole plant that I split so I could use in this particular pot, as well as a duplicate pot on the other side of the garage to flank both sides. Next, I'm placing one of the Chelsea coral mums in its original pot. It's very large, very global-like. It's very full, so you don't really see the pot, so don't worry about that. If you don't have an extra pot to put it in, leave it in the original pot, and when we do our display with the pumpkins, I will camouflage the front of this with some pumpkins. This Chelsea white mum I've placed in this metal can, and this can was purchased from the dollar store. I think it was only $4, and it's gotten lots of use. So I've just taken out the summer flowers and put in the fall mum. I've placed this mum in a yellow pot, and this yellow mum is in the original store-bought pot. I've moved this pot to make room for one of the larger pumpkins. It's just a little bit more space for me to get my full display of pumpkins on the landing. So, oops, I grabbed the pumpkin by its neck and I broke the top off. Never worry about it. DIY, I took a chopstick and snapped it off, and I'm pushing it into the top, and I'm going to insert that into here. So I've placed all of my pumpkins in amongst my fall display of mums. This is the final look from my fall display. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button and follow along. Thank you and happy fall.